Good morning. My name is Dianna Bennett, and I'm the Sheridan County Attorney. And I'm here today to give some information to the public about a new order that was issued last night by the Wyoming State Health Officer, Dr. Harris. That order was adopted by Governor Gordon, and it's the primary focus of that order is to order some closings of specific kinds of businesses, and those are bars, restaurants, theaters, gymnasiums, childcare facilities, with some exceptions, K through 12 schools, colleges, universities, and trade schools. And there's, in the order, it's pretty specific as to everything that is encompassed in it, but those are the main focuses of this order. There's some exceptions to it, and you know, I don't know if it's. I mean, maybe if you have questions about some of those exceptions, we can get into it. But there is authority under Wyoming law to order this. I've read some on in the press and social media that people are questioning who's got the authority to do this. This is Wyoming law, and the state health officer has done this. And the reason for it is the protection of the public. The idea of this isn't to close businesses and make things difficult for businesses. It's to basically keep people from being closely spaced. And that's what schools do, movie theaters, those types of businesses. That's basically what they do, restaurants, bars. There are businesses that are excluded, and those are businesses that don't serve alcohol, serve food, and so I guess we might wait till you have those kinds of questions, as I've seen that people are wondering about different retail stores, different businesses in town that are not food and alcohol or food and beverage related. But that's the main gist of this order right now. And I guess, I don't know if maybe we'll just take your questions about the specifics of people are confused about what all encompasses. But right now, it is a valid order from the state. It is enforceable. Violation of it is a misdemeanor. It's possible fine or jail time. We don't want to scare people, but it is a misdemeanor. So we want people to be aware that there could be a consequence to it. Hopefully that won't be anything that's going to happen. We're just hoping to protect the public. So that's the whole idea behind this from the state officer. She is a physician, and she feels that this is appropriate in order to save, in order for public health. And so that's the gist behind it.
Dianna, I think a lot of downtown shops in particular are concerned whether or not this applies to them. For the average store downtown that has retail that has nothing to do with food, what kind of guidelines should they be following right now?
There's nothing in the order that I read, and we've talked about it, that prohibits people, and this is all about public businesses, people that can walk in the door without having to get a key. If this is, you walk into a store downtown. Nothing in this order prohibits them staying open. Now, it depends on what kind of business you are, of how much space you have. This is kind of a common sense approach. If you have a little store and you have 20 people in there, you're probably getting crammed in there. You're putting yourself at risk, and you're putting others in the community at risk. But this order that is sent down from Dr. Harris does not prohibit those businesses staying open, as long as they are not specifically included. And those kinds of businesses, clothing stores, are not specifically excluded.
And I know that it does specifically call out bars and restaurants, but it makes an exception for carry-out and delivery services still, is that correct?
Right, and there are specifics on that, of how to deal with that, and what they've done is I think I put it on here, on 2C of the order, they are going to permit 5 members of the public at one time in the place of public accommodation for the purpose of picking up their food or beverage orders, so long as they are at least 6 feet apart. So already, of course, the drive-throughs, anything that has a drive-through, you can already use the drive-through. Places that are allowing pickup, there's already some food, some restaurants in town that are preparing, and you can go pick it up. Again, 6 feet apart. In there briefly, there's rules about whoever's preparing the food cannot be the person that's taking the money or taking the credit card. So they have to be separate people. The whole spirit of this, stay far apart. You can go pick up your order. And so they've accommodated, trying to help to keep these businesses open, but the whole spirit of this is to people spread out and not be close to each other.
So Dianna, in the spirit of this, keeping the space, is that being recommended for workplaces that are still operating, not to the public, that co-workers stay, kind of try to abide by that same rule?
Yes, there's our offices, the police department, which Chief Adriaens can speak about. That's a recommendation for everybody. And 6 feet, and if you're sick or feeling bad, stay home. Even if you're not covered by this new order, the same rules apply.
What's the enforcement for the businesses that potentially would violate this? You mentioned for individuals, but what about for a business that doesn't comply?
It's for anybody who doesn't comply, and it goes either way. There's 2 different statutes as far as penalties. One is more business related and one is more general. They both are misdemeanors, but it applies to anybody that's violating it. Now, everybody's got to be responsible, not just the customer, not just the businesses. Everybody needs to work together. So the enforcement applies to anybody.
Sheriff and Chief, could you talk about how this is going to be enforced? Is this up to patrol officers, or what will this look like for your staffs moving forward?
You know, we've got some prepared statements. Why don't we go through those and then we'll follow up with these questions. Go ahead, Sheriff.
So I'm Thompson, the Sheridan County Sheriff, and what we want everyone to know, right now our focus is getting the message out to businesses and individuals in the county as quick as possible so that they can get a look at this actual order, read it themselves, seek information from either their through their business model and their attorney, or by calling the law enforcement. We can get opinions from the county attorney's office and help everybody kind of understand what this order means. So what the Sheridan Police Department and the Sheriff's Office are doing right now with our staff out there working is contacting our businesses and providing them with, if they need a hard copy of this order, we'd hope to email it to them or point them in the direction of where it's posted online at the Wyoming Department of Health website, which that order is posted there right now, and it is linked on the Sheridan County website. So if you go to sheridancounty.com and open the links to the COVID-19 information, you'll see links in there specifically for this order. And you know, the best way for people to understand and comply with it is to read through it. It is very specific. It goes into really good detail about what it means to have delivery, window service, walk-up, drive-through, curbside pickup, that type of thing. And you know, I think the spirit of this order is to keep people separated, but keep people moving forward and not inhibit businesses' ability to make it through this and to provide needed services to the people that live throughout Sheridan County. You know, the order does specifically say every one of the types of businesses that are affected by this, and if you read through it, we keep talking about the spirit of this order, and that spirit is definitely that we're all in this together, and it's everybody's responsibility across the state and in Sheridan County to do the best practices that we know, washing hands, keeping that 6-foot distance, not regrouping in groups of 5 or more, and when you are in those groups of 5, keeping your distance. So we'll take questions, I think, after Chief Adriaens' statement on any of those specifics.
You know, we're blessed here in Sheridan County and the community with great common sense, and we've applied this as a community in a number of different manners throughout the years. And that's what we mean when we're talking about the spirit of this order. That's what we're hoping people take from this in our community. We want to flatten the need for health care, meaning flatten that spike for people needing to go to the hospital. That's really our core need as a community is that we want to stay safe, so we want to be able to maintain our health care. And to do that, we've got to slow down the speed in which this occurs. We also want folks, again, to not gather more than 5 people or social distance, no matter what business you are. It doesn't matter if you're specific in the order and you're ordered to close or operate in a different manner. We are asking all businesses and encouraging all businesses to follow those guidelines in their normal operations if they stay open. In fact, the county health officer, Dr. Hunter, recommends that any businesses or entity that require prolonged close contact should close now. And it's a recommendation, not part of the order. Again, I would remind you, we've got all this information linked on the county and city website, and you could find a trove of information there if you need anything more. Thank you.
So I just follow up with my question on enforcement and what this means for your patrol officers and deputies, and if they'll be out chatting with everybody. I know you said you're making contact, but if a business does not close that's covered by this order, what happens?
So, I mean, I think those would be obvious based on activity when we're just on normal patrol. So we're not generally going to go into a business looking to see how many people are in there and counting occupants. But if you see a full parking lot, then maybe the message isn't getting out. We do realize that there are many people in our county, especially from the sheriff's office perspective, that aren't really tied into the social media and the internet. So it's our goal, as early as 8 o'clock this morning, we were starting to contact those rural businesses, advise them, email them, or otherwise provide them with a copy of the order. And then as we do our regular law enforcement services, continue that education within the community.
Anything to add?
We'll enforce what we need to enforce. I can go back on just our history here, and we've really not had any need to do this in any event. Think of all the large events that we've had and the great cooperation when we work together. I can think of the rodeo and the street dance and the parade. And we've had minor instances of problems, but everybody works together on it and solves it, and that's what we're asking the public to do with this now. I think everybody understands that the potential for this to get to be really nasty in our community exists, and we need to take precautions now to prevent that from happening.
And I know you guys mentioned the website has a lot of information, but if somebody wants to talk to a human and ask questions, where should they be directing those questions?
So from a county standpoint, if they're a county business and they're looking at questions about this order, they can get a hold of us at the sheriff's office or call the dispatch center to receive a call back from a deputy. We would like to deal with this on the phone or through email whenever possible, but if we need to meet with someone to explain this or any other aspect of the COVID-19 issues in the community, we're more than happy to do that. So just making sure that they know that we're available. The police department's available. If your business is within the city, just make sure you call us and we'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Number 672-2413, and just if you're a county entity, ask for the sheriff's office and city, obviously for an officer.
And I just want to clarify, just a lot of the headlines and things this morning say the governor's order closed public spaces. From what the order says, this doesn't apply to public parks, pathways, and things along those lines, correct?
Right. Again, people can congregate in groups. I mean, that's, again, the spirit of this is to keep people separated. So yeah, you can go to the park and go to the walking paths, but keep your distance from people.
Will this impact transportation as far as the bus service here in town, the shuttle service? I don't know, you refer to it, is it that's still operating, that people can still use it?
That's already closed. It closed about a week ago, except for some specific circumstances, people who need groceries, etc.
And Dianna, will you talk real quickly just about, you made a comment about some child care exemptions. Can you just go through those so those are clear to folks so they're not thinking they can go just drop their kids off?
It's probably the kind of the most difficult part of the order, all of the exceptions. All child care centers and home daycares are ordered closed. That's where it starts. It's subject to exceptions, and that's basically child care for essential personnel. And there's a whole list of who that includes. Law enforcement, medical people, criminal justice jail, firefighters, state employees, essential for the COVID-19 response, military, pharmacy staff, grocery store, and food supply. They want to keep the food supply, they want to keep all the essentials going.
So is there like a designated center that's open for those people, or does that mean that those people can have other people watch their kids? How does that look in reality?
There's nothing that's designated for those people. I mean, we're assuming those people already have their kids in certain daycare, and what I've been seeing is people are thinking that, okay, if there's this home daycare open with a certain number of children, and one of those children is the child of a police officer, the whole daycare can keep all of those kids, and that's not what this says. It's actually very specific as to the language in that childcare centers or home daycares that provide care for children of essential personnel may continue to operate to provide childcare for children of essential personnel. So they can continue to provide that care for those people. There's a lot of exceptions in there. But this is the most difficult one. I saw some people on social media say, well, I'm just going to say that, and yeah, I don't think law enforcement's going to go around house to house. I'm sure they're not, and checking at daycare or home daycare facilities, but to make sure that there's essential personnel of children in there. But if something comes to their attention, I'm sure that they'll go and follow up on it and see what's going on, and if it comes to their attention. And
I think we just want to remember, we really want to protect our healthcare workers. If they're sick, we don't have healthcare. So I think if the community keeps that in mind as they go about trying to help folks and help law enforcement, but really if our hospital employees are sick, then our system's sick, and we want to make sure those folks stay healthy and their kids are taken care of during this event.
Well, and Rich, Chief and Sheriff, the idea that the other parties that are exempt are like police officers, local law enforcement, firefighters, these emergency responders as well. Is there any plans in place by your office where you've come across this situation where an officer needs some sort of, place to have their child watched after? Has that happened yet?
It happens all the time in law enforcement, so we've had plans in place for a long time. There's specifics on how we would schedule that I don't really want to share publicly, but we just make sure we converse closely with our employees to try to understand what their individual needs are. When you work shift work, most folks are kind of used to that shift work, except this may be extended at this time. So I've got officers married to school teachers, for instance, so they're trying to work through those issues. So right now there's been one employee that we've had to help find some care for their children, but other than that, we've done real well. So I think it's just a tribute to most of the folks in this business that they take care of this on their own, and they're able to. A little more difficult right now.
Right, and I would echo those statements. There's constantly scheduling issues when you're working, 24/7, providing law enforcement services. So we're not, we're used to, I guess you could say, that challenge. This does make it a little bit more challenging, but it's just a constant conversation with our staff.
Is there going to be a PIO or a go-to person as I communicate with Mark Wilson, our news director, and our general manager, for each department, or is there somebody for interviews?
As far as trying to get the most consistent and up-to-date information out to the public as soon as possible, the best way to do that is through the county's incident management team. And we do our press releases regularly with that, and I can provide you after this with the contact information for the PIO from that group. But that's the best way. But if you have a specific question that is for the police department or the sheriff's office or any government entity and the services that we're providing, business or government is still open. We're just limiting contact with people, so give us a call.
No, I was specifically for extended interviews.
And that would be best through the IMT PIO, and I can give you that contact information.
As we're streaming live on Facebook here, guys, we're getting a couple questions about how this applies to hotels. Can you address that a little bit, Dianna?
Again, it's anticipated that hotels are going to continue on as hotel restaurants are required to do room service. So just implicit in that is that it's not applying to hotels. Again, the idea of hotels is people are spread out. You have your own individual rooms. You just don't sit down at restaurants or bars and hotels. So again, hotels are not specifically mentioned in this order, can continue. But again, it's following all the same, the same rules. Don't have people in the lobby all congregated there. The idea is everybody's spread out. And for food service, they specifically set out that they have to have room service as described above of how they, whoever's preparing it can't be the person dealing with the individual people. So the room service, somebody's going to deliver it, that can't be the person preparing the food.
All right, we probably should wrap this up. Anything else? Thank you.